Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I have to confess I've never wanted to punch a kid in the face more. Today's review is of the 2021 Norwegian film The Innocents. This is actually a patron request that was put out by Twan, saying, I really enjoyed the suspense in this movie. It was very dark along the lines of Brightburn. The kids did a terrific job. So, this is a movie that has been on my radar, and I have to confess that I may not have made a video about this prior to the request coming in, but it certainly was on my watch list. I was definitely going to be getting around to it, mostly because of all the buzz surrounding it. I've heard people constantly pop up saying, I just saw The Innocents and I am shook, things like that. So that's enough to get my ears perked most certainly, and I'm glad this request came through because it finally allowed me to watch this, and I have to agree with Twan. This was a great suspenseful movie. It was very dark, and admission, I haven't seen Brightburn yet, so I can't compare it to that. That's also on my watch list pretty soon here. Anywho, I think one of the things that I appreciate about The Innocents was not just how dark it got and how suspenseful it was, but also how quiet it elected to be. Now, I'm a very strong believer that this is the kind of movie that somebody should go into completely blind, or as blind as possible. So when it comes to giving a plot synopsis, I'm really going to be trying to just give the layup, and that's it. I'm not going to get into anything about the actual events that kind of bring this into the horror realm, and certainly no spoilers. But even so, this is a movie about a family of a mother, father, and two young girls, one of which is nonverbal autistic, that are moving to a new city with the father's new job, and are basically living in this apartment complex, and it's mostly centered around the children as they go out and make friends around the neighborhood. That's pretty much all I'll say about it. I've always considered it to be almost a stereotype of pretentious speech, but the argument of jazz music and how it's about the notes not played always tickled me some. I'm sure that there's some merit in that, and I kind of, in honesty, found some merit within the same concept in this film. This is a movie that tackles a whole lot of both surface level plot points as well as a ton of emotional, psychological, and philosophical subtext. But the thing of it is, as far as the surface level plot point, there's not a massive amount of exposition or explanation. It simply is. And I think that that's actually kind of remarkable because there are long stretches of this film that have no dialogue, but there's still plenty of action happening on screen. And considering that The Innocents features very heavily a character that is nonverbal autistic, I think it's kind of remarkable that we have a film that tackles very heavy subjects and very heady plot points in manners that don't rely on speech or on dialogue. Without getting too morose, I do have to admit that the nature of man and the brutality that's embedded within our souls and spirits has been a subject that has been on my mind quite a lot as of late. And it's interesting to watch a movie that tackles this in the way that it does. By having characters that aren't older, that are young children, we strip away a lot of the dialogue about how society can wear us down, how the news can wear us down, how politics can wear us down, and we basically just get brought back to a more fresh point, to a more innocent time. And by still exploring that aspect of humanity, it kind of turns into a conversation about nature versus nurture, and if the brutality within man is something that is fostered over the years and over the sullying and staining of one's soul, or if it's simply baked inside of us. And I'm glad we have a movie such as this that not only asks these questions, but also doesn't try to get away with providing easy answers, because the honest truth is complex, and the fact of the matter is, across the world, all of us have some gradient of a brutal survivalist id nature to us. And each of us are also unique in our ability to suppress or allow our moral compass to make the right decisions. We all have a devil on our shoulder and an angel on the other, and how big each one is and which one wins the battle is honestly the guiding points that lead us through life. One of the reasons that I love horror movies is honestly one of the reasons that I wanted to have a channel devoted to them. A certain level of advocacy, if you will. I think that there's far too much of the movie watching populace that dismisses them out of hand, that think that they're nothing more than hockey mask wielding, machete waving killers slicing up teenagers. And the fact is, we can actually have movies such as The Innocents that tackle very deep, very difficult, philosophical, moral questions by taking fairly simplistic concepts and characters and putting it through the lens of the paranormal or the metaphysical and allowing us to view it from a different angle that actually kind of strips away a lot of the variables and just allows us to have a pure look at what if. So to anybody that would come up with the argument that The Innocents doesn't provide enough explanation or enough scenes of exposition, I would just argue that that's really not the point. As far as the surface level aspects of what's going on, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, because by keeping quiet and having scenes with little dialogue to them and not having answers and explanations for every single little piece of the puzzle, it allows us to keep focus on the questions that it's actually asking about humanity. And that is where the real meat of this movie comes into play, and one of the things that I love most about it. I do consider this to be a remarkable horror film, and a remarkable film in its own right, and based on that, I do heartily recommend it, but there are some major trigger warnings involved here. And those trigger warnings are basically revolved around very graphic depictions of animal cruelty and child cruelty. And if those elements are too much for you, then it would probably be worth giving this movie a pass because, well, damn. But we all have our own triggers and tolerances and preferences, and that's okay. We can respect each other's sensitivities. There's nothing wrong with that. But for anybody that feels like they can handle the subject matter, I do very strongly recommend the 2021 Norwegian film, The Innocents. Thank you, Twan, for recommending this one to me, and thank you for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.